Oh my God, it actually worked today. I'm actually doing this with my laptop. Welcome to my comedy channel, guys. This is my hair's doing weird stuff, but that's usual. Welcome to Rhonda Lee Jones Comedy Lab. I'm Rhonda Lee Jones, and today I want to talk with you about preparing your set. And there are two main things I want to hit. One is a new way of preparing my sets that I am experimenting with. I don't have any results on that for you because I just started doing it. But I like to play with my stuff, so this is just a new way to kind of play with the material. And the other thing that I want to really spend, I guess, more time talking about is that you really need to be prepared for every situation that's going to crop up, and that's not you're not going to be in the beginning. So it's very important that as you do your sets, you make some notes about what happened and what you could have done or what you're going to try for the next time that particular thing happens. So let me first share with you the exciting new tool that I am using. I am taking my sets and turning them and making little quizzes for them. It's just a fun thing to do. What I do is I have at the top, I'll put the name, and then I'll put prompts. I'll put my prompts like how this particular section begins, and it'll be a prompt like I always do this, or when I go to the grocery store, I always, if that's the way a set begins, then I'll say when I go to the grocery store, and then I'll have a blank and I'll fill in the blank. And my theory is that if I do that enough times, because I made several copies of these things, if I do that enough times and then correct them when I get them wrong and then go back and redo them, I will remember the details a lot better once I'm up there because I've played with the material in kind of a different way. I think playing with the material in different ways is very important. It really, really solidifies those memories so that you can get to them from various routes. You don't always have to be completely linear so that you won't screw yourself up if you forget something that comes before. So that you can always find what you need to find in your brain, no matter what's happening and no matter how you need to change it up, to fit that particular audience tonight. So I think that using these, you know what? I'm going to be right back. I'm going to actually go grab one of these quizzes so you can just kind of see the shape of it, if not the details. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's going to take me like 5 seconds to find it. Okay. This is one that I took. And what I did was, it's probably going to be backwards when you see it. But what I did was the parts that I wasn't able to fill in all the way, and I tried to do it quickly. Don't labor over it. You're not getting a grade, guys. Is I filled it out in yellow afterwards because there was supposed to be like a description. So I filled it out in yellow so that I could see how much yellow that I have for stuff that I needed to add in and need to pay more attention to that and work with that on its own so that the next time I take one of these things, I can get it. And then when I'm on stage, I'll remember it. It actually did help me because I did take a couple of these things and on this one particular set. And then I got up and did the set. And there were details that I had that I wouldn't have had before. So this is just something I'm playing with. Maybe you could play with it yourself. Just and making these quizzes will help you see. It will give you a visual. If you're a visual person, I think a lot of comics probably are. If you're a visual learner, it will help you just have a picture of the shape of your set, if that makes sense. Like I've got a harder version of this quiz that is basically just give me the introduction, give me the follow up for this particular thing, and making that quiz, it it helped me. It really helped me see how that particular set is organized. So so I was able to sort of have that in my head, and I didn't use notes. You know what? I didn't use notes. I just realized that usually when I present a new set, I'll have my notes with me, just in case I need a buzzword to help me remember where I'm going next. And I didn't even use that this particular time. And it's a new set. So keep that in mind. Just play with your material in every way that you can, and try the quiz approach. Try just making the quiz as part of it. It's not that it begins once you have all these nice little quizzes and then you can take them. Actually, making the thing is teaching you your set. And what I do is I made it, and I copied it. I made several copies of it, and then I took the first test. And after that is when I went and made my key. I have a key that is where the answers are written in blue, or typed out in blue. So I didn't do that until after I took it the first time, because actually making the key is part of it. That's going to help you. That's part of your practice period. So I'm trying. That's just something I'm trying out. If it turns out to be more work intensive than it produces, than the results it produces, then I'm going to drop it, because we want to find the quickest, easiest ways to get our material in our heads, because we want to get up there and perform it as early in the process as possible. Do your material, get your material down, and get up on stage as soon as you possibly can with it. You don't have to learn it perfectly. You want to try out stuff before you spend too much time on it. If you've got a line that you're kind of iffy about, you have feelings about, you're not sure you like it, you're not sure you think it's funny, you want to try it out anyway. If they think it's hilarious, you might want to keep it. If they seem to be in agreement with you and you're just not going to be able to work with this line, then get rid of it. Don't spend a lot of time on this stuff that isn't working. So that's one way that getting up on stage quickly, soon after writing this down. I know one guy, he sits there and he'll write a set at the club minutes before he gets up there and performs it. Um, that's just part of his process. So you have to remember that getting up and doing your sets on open mic nights is a different thing than it will be in the future. Getting up um, in front of an audience who's paid to see you. That's two different beasts. Two different beasts. I am not at that point yet. I can't tell you what that's like, but I know what open mics are like, and that's for working out your set in various ways. And so you want to be able to use them to the best of your ability and make those open nights work for you. Those guys, as much as you want them to have a good time, they haven't paid to see you. They're there looking at you free, and so you don't have as much of a responsibility to them. Um, your responsibility is to your future crowds who are going to be paying to see you one day, hopefully. And so use these open mics to really hone your skills and to really hone these sets. So that's really all I wanted to share with you about my new process, my new little toy that I have. The other thing is, it's very important to, when you get up in front of a set, you want to prepare in such a way that that you can perform your set to the back wall, to the literal back wall. The back wall is your best friend, and you're performing for that back wall. You want to be able to do that, because you are not always going to be able to win over an audience. It's just not always going to happen. This is coffee. I should have told you to go make your own coffee before sitting down to the video so we can have coffee together next time. Um, but yeah, you need to be able to be prepared for that eventuality. It doesn't mean necessarily just, and I don't say, I'm talking about an audience that's largely not responsive. Um, you're not going to be able to goad them into playing with you. You're not going to be able to do that to get much of a reaction from them at all. Doesn't mean they're not listening. Doesn't mean they're not enjoying. It just means that you can't let your set be too dependent on what they say and do. You want to be prepared for them saying and doing stuff. That's great. Crowd work is wonderful. And if you're drawn to it, certainly play with it, certainly learn it. I love doing crowd work. I just sort of fell into it right away. But there are those nights when won't be worked, when they're just not responsive. I was at a club the other night, and these guys, this particular crowd, is used to going in and hearing music and just sort of having music be the background. So they had their backs to me. They were at the bar. Some people were looking and paying attention, and I kind of played to them. But the crowd work that I normally do when I do crowd work, and that's what I had planned to do for them that night, requires for bigger energy. It requires bigger energy, and it requires more participation than I was getting that night. So what I wound up doing is just kind of I just did whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have an emotional reaction to it. I didn't get my feelings hurt. This was just a different type of crowd. It's a crowd, just a crowd that wanted you as a background, which is going to happen for a comic. I think in a way it's worse for a comic than it is for a musician. I'm going to get some hate from that one probably. No, it's not. It's nothing like having a baby. But but it's a musician who goes into that situation knows that he can play or she can play their music anyway. They're playing for, and I've sung in front of crowds. I know what this is like. You sing to that one person who's paying attention, or you sing to yourself. You spent so much time in your room singing to yourself anyway. You know how to do it. I have not spent a lot of time in my room giving my comedy routine to myself. So that's something that I don't know how to do. I realize I don't know how to give my set to the back wall, um, and have it be basically you're standardizing your set. You're standardizing this thing just in case you don't have that participation. So I realize that's a direction that I'm going to go in. For all my actors out there, treat this like a monologue. You know how to give a monologue, probably, and you know how to give a monologue to the back wall. You go into a certain headspace that's kind of like the headspace you go into when you're singing a song in the car. Um, be able to do that with your comedy. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be able to learn this fairly quickly because I do those things, because I've given monologues, because I've played with monologues by myself, and had fun doing it. And because I've done a lot of singing to myself, and it's fun. So I want to switch that mindset and that skill, because it is a skill, believe it or not. I want to switch that skill over from being able to do those things for myself, by myself, when nobody's paying attention, and be able to deliver my comedy in the same way. Just has a standard. Okay, they're not paying attention to me tonight. I'm still going to run a great set. It's a different kind of great set, but you can still run a great set when they're not laughing. And that's another thing. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Just because they're not laughing, this is important for you to know. This is important for you to know. If they're not throwing stuff and telling you suck, then they might actually be enjoying what you're doing. Because on this night, after I ran my set, I like I said, I didn't have an emotional reaction to it. I was a little bit disappointed myself but I was more curious. I was like, oh, okay, this is the direction I need to take this. I know what I need to do now in order to level up. So it was actually a good night, in those terms. It didn't feel as good as it does when people are going crazy and responding to what I'm saying. Um, but it was a good night in the sense that, yeah, okay, I just learned something here. That's great. And I noticed that my feelings weren't hurt. I think that's important too. You're going to have all sorts of emotions about your set, about your performances, about yourself, about them. You're just going to have all these feelings, and don't try to get away from them. Let them happen. But at the same time, I think as you become more experienced with getting up on stage, they're going to happen less and less. You're not going to have a strong reaction to every single thing that happens or doesn't happen, or feel rejected all the time, or you just, oh, you went to work, this is what happened. You go sit down on your break, whatever. But I had people coming up to me telling me they enjoyed what I did that night. These people had not applauded, they had not laughed. I don't even didn't even I don't even think they looked at me, but they were enjoying themselves. So that's important to keep in mind, and that's why you want to have that set be tight is what I'm calling it. I need to tighten up my sets. I give a very loose set. Um, because I like to be able to riff on whatever happens. But if nothing's happening, then I got to do it by myself. So that's how I'm personally going to level up, is being able to deliver that back wall set. So, um, comment, yeah, that's all I have for you today. Leave your comments and suggestions and things that leave leave comments about what worries you. If you haven't been on stage yet, or you have been maybe a couple of times, and you wonder what's next, or maybe there's something that's bugging you about your delivery, or about the experience, or something exciting about it that you want to share, go ahead and comment in the comments below, and I will be checking these comments if there are any at some point. I promise. I'm just getting into the groove of this myself, as you may be able to see. But and I did not make a video in the middle of the week, because it just got crazy. This is what I was going to talk to you about half of this, about the quizzes in the middle of the week, and then I was going to talk about um, the back wall stuff on Saturday. But it all fit together, I think, pretty nicely. Once the quizzes are actually going to be able to feed into that, because I do want to learn my lines, with this. I was kind of wondering if that was hurting me when I was too in the script. But I think that if you learn them well enough, you'll just be able to do it as though you were coming up with it on the spot. And that's the impression that you want to make, even though everybody knows you spent tons of hours preparing it. You want to be able to deliver your set as though it was, off the top of your head. So that's that, guys. I would say follow me on social media, but and you are certainly welcome to follow me on Twitter at Rhonda Jones. I haven't done a lot with it lately, but I'm going to gear my Twitter uh, and my Instagram and everything. I'm going to gear it toward what I'm doing with this. I'm going to use it to communicate with people about comedy and all these wonderful things. So follow me on those if you want to see what happens later, and I will catch you. Thank you for watching my video, and for commenting and doing all those wonderful things. And go out and do it, please. Oh my gosh, go out and do it if you're itching to get out there. Just go ahead and go and see what happens, and do your own comedy experiments, and let me know. All right, guys. Love you. Bye bye.